How has Jerod Mayo handled this week in which his job status has been questioned by a lot of people in the media?
I think he's just trying to stay the course. I think he's just trying to be the same guy that he's been all season long, at least with the media. And he's just basically saying, listen, it's not my job to talk about that or focus on that or speculate about that. That'll come at the end of the season. He's focused on the Buffalo Bills, and almost a Belichick-like answer, which he gave right here yesterday. And I think he'll stay that course as well. So, the players, they fully support him, all the players that we've talked to. And I think that's kind of where everything stands right now. So it's, with 3 games left to go, they're going to end up close to, if they could get to the same record that they had a year ago. But I go back to there is hope in the development of Drake May and what we've seen, but it's been a long, tough year, and it hasn't gone as well as I think Jerod Mayo would have liked it to go here in season 1. But again, it's season 1 as a head coach in the NFL.
And everything was amplified after that game against the Cardinals because they come off the bye and they don't look sharp and they don't play well. And then you had the shot of the Krafts in the booth, specifically Jonathan Kraft mouthing something during the game. So, Dan, here's the question I have, because it does seem among the reports out there that the Krafts are still backing Jerod Mayo despite the way this season has gone. What would have to happen, do you think, for him to be truly in jeopardy of losing his job?
I think a complete disaster the next 3 games. Against Buffalo twice and the LA Chargers for him to be dismissed. I just think that what I didn't like about, for the first time this year, what I didn't like about the Arizona game is, and you and I talk about this all the time, is I watch a lot of the after series, what goes on a bench with my binoculars from the press box. And for the first time I saw early on with the defense almost like they were, they kind of knew that they weren't getting the job done and were resigned to it. You know what I mean? They tried to do their best and give what they had, but they just don't seem to be on the same page together as a defense, except for Christian Gonzalez. And then the offense, there was frustration on the offense. And why? Well, simple, because it's week, 14, and they're making the same mistakes over and over again. A holding penalty, on a first drive that's looking really good, where they're running the football, moving the football, and the rookie Layden Robinson gets a holding call, and then they miss a field goal. Second drive, it's a big sack that Vidarian Lowe just completely whiffed on a defender at the left tackle position. So that, I saw like a very frustrated Drake May, where he always goes over. He sits down with the coaches, Alex Van Pelt and the quarterback's coach, and talks and with Jacoby Brissett and Joe Milton about what he sees. With about 2 minutes left to go in the first half, he just kind of took off his helmet and went over to the sidelines by himself down the end and stood there with his hands on his jersey. And I just didn't like the whole vibe that I saw, because I think there was a little bit of hope, renewed sense of hope coming off the bye that they were going to be okay and at least have a strong finish. And it just was the same old in Arizona. So, again, I don't think his job is in jeopardy, but if this malaise continues throughout the rest of the season and they get beat up pretty badly, which is a chance, then maybe they discuss maybe not bringing him back. And I think the other thing that's staring Patriots fans in the face, Joe, is seeing reports out of Chicago saying Ryan Poles, the general manager, would like to interview Mike Vrabel for the head coaching position and Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. When you have those Patriots ties staring you right in the face, an experienced guy like Vrabel might be the guy to come in here. So I think that's the only thing that maybe sits there and say, well, maybe they could replace Jerod Mayo. But the guy deserves a second chance in my mind.
It doesn't help him out, though, that the team that they're going to be facing this week is the Bills, who look like a Super Bowl contender, coming off a great win against the Detroit Lions. And Josh Allen, right now, he looks like the front runner, maybe alongside Lamar Jackson, for the MVP in the NFL. So, Dan, here's the question for this upcoming game, because I mentioned it off the top. The Bills are 14-point favorites in this game. So if the Patriots lose, it's not as if it's unexpected. But what would be an acceptable outcome in your mind to this game?
A fight, from the sense of they come out and they jump on the Bills and they jump out to a 10-0, 14-0 lead and take it to them for the entire game, not just a quarter and then get blown out. You know what I mean? I think that if we could see a fight from this football team, just show some, battle, show them that they're pissed off and that they're trying to get, back at to where they need to be to a level. I think that's what you want to see. And then against the Chargers, the same thing. They're not a great team, so you could battle them, especially at home. So I think those are the kind of things you want to see that fight and play with on offense. Play smart, disciplined, mistake-free football, mental mistake-free football. And on defense, stop the run, hit, play ferocious tackling, good energy, make some turnovers, force some turnovers, those types of things we just haven't seen from this team. And you look on paper, Joe, this is a tough one, right? The Patriots, the most they've scored in a game this season is 25 points when they beat the Jets 25-22. The Bills have scored 30 points or more in 8 straight games. This matchup has, like, Bills written all over it. Just reading a number 2, they're the 6th team in NFL history to have 3 rushing touchdowns in 4 straight games in a season. So, like, they can do everything with that offense, and the Patriots haven't been able to stop the run in really the whole season. So there's concern everywhere. So I want to see some fight from the Patriots. That's what I think you need to see these last 3 games.
And it's going to be tough to stop the guy that we were just showing right there, Josh Allen, who looks like a menace right now on the football field.
He's got 10 touchdowns in his last 2 games, 5 throwing and 5 rushing. And it's insane.
And he's been so unreal, Dan. It feels like his first 2 seasons in the NFL feel like forever ago, where everybody was questioning what type of player he would ultimately become. And now the answer is an MVP candidate in the National Football League. And I want to compare Drake May and Josh Allen for a moment, because it wasn't me making the comparison. It was actually the Patriots' own Devon Godchaux who called Drake May Josh Allen 2.0 not too long ago after the Tennessee game and what he was able to do, this being Drake May in that game. And the question I have for you, Dan, not to say that they're the exact same player, because I do think that they're a little different. And you could even argue that Drake May is more skilled and not as raw as Josh Allen was those first 2 years. But how can the Patriots replicate something close to what the Bills did with Josh Allen, in that he was able to grow into this top-flight quarterback because of the weapons that they surrounded him with?
Well, it's the weapons also, but it's also just his maturing into the game. And I think Drake May's actually ahead of that with what we've seen in the way he's performed and how he can read defenses and how he's creative. We saw a little Patrick Mahomes in him this past week when he had that touchdown near the goal line where he just threw the ball to Pop at the last second for a touchdown. And I think they've got to build, both lines back up. They've got to get a complete team. That's how they can build around Josh May and become the Buffalo Bills. They've got to get more talent, more edge rushers, what have you, middle of the line, interior defense. And then they've got to get, as we've talked about all season long, offensive linemen, 2 tackles that can help protect him. And then you can work on the skill positions after that, get a number 1 wide receiver. So there's a lot of work to do here for the Patriots to get Drake May there. But you mentioned, for the first 2 years, it didn't look good for Josh Allen, and then things started to turn around. And I kind of look at that and say maybe that's the same flight, the same path that Drake May will take with this Patriots team, if they can do what they need to do, drafting and signing free agents to get back to respectability.
Bills fans, Dan, they're a rowdy bunch. What's the vibe like when you travel to Buffalo and see Bills Mafia in action, trying to ultimately disrupt an opposing team like the Patriots?
They're there early. That's one thing with them. They get there. We drive to the stadium real early to set up for our game day show at 11:30. Let's say for a 1 o'clock kickoff. It's 4:25 this week, but it might even be busy then. They're just lined up everywhere. At the tailgating, it doesn't matter the weather conditions, the snow, nothing. They get ready, they gear up for it, and from years and talking through to the Patriots for all these years, just the bus ride in. They're getting told they're number 1 in a different fashion than any other place that they go to. There's just things to get thrown onto the field, which was alluded to yesterday by Devon Godchaux in the past that he couldn't talk about. They're just crazy, and I think that's what's kind of made everybody root for the Bills a little bit more here because of going through losing 4 straight Super Bowls and what they went through. That there's people rooting for this fan base because they're so passionate. The stadium is a dump, but it's their dump. They love it. It's crazy. And crazy things seem to happen there. So I respect the heck out of them because they are just as passionate as you'll find a football fan, and it's really cool to watch.
And I love what Ramondre Stevenson told you on First Down that aired last night, basically saying that they're going to insult you on the way in, but if you play well, they'll compliment you on the way out, which I thought was a great sentiment from Ramondre. Dan, go ahead.
Crazy things happen there, Joe, too. 3 years ago, I've never seen, we had that wind game where the goalposts were blown over, the benches were up in the air, flying all over the place pregame. I got out of my car in the media lot to walk in, and near the stadium, I noticed there were like 3 or 4 cars that were they had their passenger side windows broken into. I even said to something in security, I said, excuse me, it looks like these cars have been broken into. And he said, no, that was the wind that came through here that sucked out the window and just shattered the glass. Wow. And I've never heard of that anywhere. So I thought it was crazy.
And what was it, Mac Jones? He threw 3 passes in that game, 2 passes in that game?
I know. And I think the first punt went backwards for Jake Bailey that year too. So, yeah, it was crazy. So you never know what the weather's going to be like. We're prepared for, like, I think I saw a high of 17 and a low of 7. In that 425 window, there'll probably be some light snow. So it'll be cold in Buffalo, but it's always a great atmosphere.
All right, be sure to bundle up. And again, we want to see the car video, even if it's Grateful Dead this time with T-Mac.
Gotta go down, shake down street. Dan
Roche, appreciate the time as always, my man.
All right, Joe, be well.
All right, be sure to catch Patriots All Access Friday at 7 on WBZ. We take you behind the scenes, plus hear from Jerod Mayo and much more. Here's the schedule for Sunday's game. Patriots game day at 11:30 on WBZ, streaming on CBS News Boston. And then the Pats and Bills are now a 4:25 kickoff in Buffalo. And you can see it on WBZ. And the 5th quarter is on TV 38 after the game.